Mark Mitchell, now you've been looking at the polls. We've all seen the collapse of Joe Biden. Here's my challenge to you. Do you think and I've got this theory. I've got this theory that Joe Biden has a way to turn this all around. And this is what I want to talk about. Because he started to kind of do it, where we know the American people love an underdog story. We know they love an anti-establishment story. This has been Trump's story all along. And now all of a sudden, Biden and some of his allies have started circling around this narrative that it's Biden versus the elites, that it's Biden versus the establishment. And I see this as an actual potential threat because he used to throw out this populist rhetoric throughout his career and throughout the past. But of course, everyone knew that he was always on the side of the establishment for 50 years up until literally the last 2 weeks. Mark Mitchell, what are you seeing in the numbers? And is there a path forward here for Biden to actually cobble back some of that support?
Well, he did cobble back some of the support. There's no way Joe Biden is ever going to wash the stink of establishment off of himself. I mean, just in our COVID polling, a majority of Joe Biden's strong supporters wanted to throw the unvaccinated in jail. Like, people aren't going to forget that. And every time I run a poll, the biggest signal is always in Biden approval. I really do think this is a referendum on Biden, and a vast majority of Republicans and a really strong majority of independents really don't trust authority and blame it all on Joe Biden. But from where the race is at, we have new post-debate matchup numbers back. And the headline here is Trump still leading by a pretty solid margin. He's up 6 points, but that's actually down from 10 points pre-debate. Now, where we were at is we showed Joe Biden imploding like all of the way through the spring, and all the other pollsters weren't there yet. It's almost like the debate gave them permission to catch up to where we're at. But we poll a lot and we catch these swings. And the truth is, the big movements pre and post debate is that Democrats circled the wagon around this guy. Now, here you can see all of our presidential polling from the last year and a half, everything this race. And I mean, like, I think, to me, if you look, the big takeaway is that Donald Trump's numbers are kind of steady at 48, 49%, and Joe Biden is locked in there down at the bottom. He's got a long way to make up. What I will say is I've seen Republicans blow bigger leads. And so my advice to the Trump camp, it doesn't really matter what Democrats in there. Focus on winning down ballot. Focus on a good turnout. Focus on maintaining that 5 to 10 point lead. And I think over time, you're going to see that happen. Can you have Denver bring up chart 2? I think that's the most important one that really shows us where we're at. This is all of our polling with Donald Trump over the last 10 plus years. And everybody says, oh, polling's inaccurate. Everybody says, well, Rasmussen's a right-wing pollster. But I put the final reported vote, national popular vote margin on Trump versus Clinton. And these are moving averages to swing out, to smooth out all the swings. And we were dead accurate in 2016 and 2020. And if anything, in our polling, Joe Biden did better than he did in the final reported results. And now if you look at where Trump's at 2024 to 2020, he's solidly up. And if you look at where Biden's at, he's still down about 10 points from where he was 4 years ago. And, polls change over time, but our weighting maybe changed 1 or 2 points over this period. Our methodology didn't change all that much. So Biden is getting beat. Every time we test a Biden replacement, they poll about like where Biden is. People know who Trump and Biden are. I think they've mostly made up their minds, and it's going to be really tough for the Democrats to catch up. I don't think they can put anybody in there, but they have, as you know, and as you've mentioned, some aces up their sleeve. There's major ways they could change this race, and it's cynical to say, but one of the big ones is to put Trump in jail, which they do have the opportunity to do. Now, as a pollster, I can't at all predict how things like that are going to change the race. But this debate really didn't. And before the debate, voters told us, well, Trump's probably going to win. 10 points lead they gave to Trump. After the debate, they said, well, Trump won by 35 points. But then if you see here,
Let's clue in on that specifically. So in the debate, pre-debate, post-debate, where did you see the biggest delta? Where did you see the biggest change in support, demographic-wise, age-wise, or gender-wise? Education, non-education. Where was that biggest shift?
It was mostly in left-leaning groups. It was Democrats who said, by and large, oh, no, there's no way Trump's going to win. Biden is so smart. He's been in D.C. for 50 years. And then post-debate, I think the Democrats went from 70 or 67 points, Biden's going to win, down to like 49 points. And more Democrats said that Trump won. But the problem is that now more Democrats are supporting Biden in the race. I'd almost call it a pity bounce or circling the wagons. After that performance, Joe Biden has an 80-point approval rating among Democrats right now, which is like the highest it's been all year. Now, will that abate some? Maybe, but I mean, maybe they just didn't like the mean orange man picking on their candidate. I think that's what could, I think Trump's doing the right thing right now. Let the Democrats have their circling firing squad. This is what people have called a civil war. I think that's probably really accurate. And all they're doing right now is probably hurting their candidate's chances, throwing all these slings and arrows at Biden. It's not affecting the Democrats, but it's affecting the independents. Trump's up like 15, 16 points among independents now in the latest matchup numbers. And independents also said that Joe Biden got beat in that debate by a massive amount.
So you're seeing it twofold. It's two fronts now. So the independents are being driven to Trump more because of the Democrat civil war that's ensued, but then also because they saw Joe Biden's performance, his disastrous performance at the rally. What about this press conference? What about this roundtable? This, 20. We saw the numbers. If they're to be believed, they're saying 24 million people tuned into this thing. Have we seen, or is it early enough that we've seen any shift in the numbers since that press conference?
We're talking about minute movements in the news cycle when there's been videos of Joe Biden falling downstairs for 3 years. At this point, if you're willing to have an open mind about Joe Biden's incompetence or mental acuity problems, like 57% of voters already knew going into the debate. So I don't think the press conference is going to solidify anything. I really just think this is a test of the media's ability to either gaslight people or the Democrats' apparent willingness to vote for a ham sandwich, basically. Really just bringing it back to the race. Trump was leading by 10 before the debate. Now he's leading just by 6. And you can look at where he picked up and lost. And, he picked up Joe Biden is doing 13 points better among Democrats. So essentially the crossover advantage that Trump had all year is gone. Trump is doing way better among Hispanic and other race voters, but that, swings around. He's awash with Republicans and it's awash with independents on the debate. Now, independents were horrified by that debate performance, but again, it just hasn't changed the race much. Younger voters, Biden is doing 4.5 points better than he was doing pre-debate. I think at the end of the day, we may call this noise. Trump is winning solidly. But again, I think, we could talk about election integrity issues. National popular vote may not matter as much as it does in a post-2020 world. And voters have a lot of concern about election integrity. I can tell you that.
Mark Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us from Rasmussen.